Hey my friends, here's your heads up to this sort of, I think it's a 5-minute quickie, but lasts about 15 minutes or so. But it's all about just take a little bit of care over things and see what would happen. It's something I got from my journal this morning, and it just seemed to make sense, so I thought I wanted to share it with you. And hopefully there's a few other things I've said in this podcast that might just ring a bell, resonate. And if you are feeling anything of a negative emotion in this period of the mad world, then there'll be something in it for you too, okay? Or if you know somebody, let them know too, okay? Have a listen for them and then pass it on, okay? Have a listen after this.
Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, my friend, another day and maybe another dollar, but we're back in this, or we're still in this mad world. And I've got a couple of things I want to talk about. I just finished a HIIT exercise session on Facebook. Oh my goodness. Not the type of thing you want just before you come and have a little chat with you, but hey, I'm here anyway. Hopefully you're doing the same type of thing by just making yourself healthy and fit. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I've got lots of things that I think we and I certainly want to do. But before we do that, we talked about using that procrastination as a superpower. So if you haven't used it yet, and to make sure that nothing gets in your way, let's clear up everything. Just as you would, just that puts you off starting that stuff. So just, you're not going to do anything other than tidy up. So don't procrastinate about tidying up. Make that place a nice place. But also, what I've been thinking about is we've all got that little bit more time. Or I say all. Some of you I know are still working. And if you are, you're so lucky. You are lucky. There's so many of us who are not. Well, I'm working of a sort. I do a lot of coaching online, so I'm one of those people who are very lucky. But I also have a lot of time in between, and I've been thinking about that time and some of the things I've been doing. And I'm just thinking it's like a mindfulness thing. We're just taking that little bit more time on even the everyday things, just to make them a little bit more special, maybe a little bit more neater. I was doing this in my journal this morning, is where I thought about it, and my thoughts came, is that my writing was getting absolutely, well, no one's going to read it anyway, but if they did, they wouldn't, and I was having trouble. So I just thought to myself, well, maybe I just spent a little more care over my writing. Maybe the thoughts would come a little bit clearer. Maybe I'd take more care over my thoughts. Then I thought to myself, what else have I been doing? Because I've been doing a little bit of this. Such things as, we all have to eat, don't we? Well, I decided a little while ago, well, if we have to eat and we have to go out and buy all this food, why don't we just buy, not necessarily a good dollop of it, but a nice dollop, as in maybe something that you wouldn't normally have. So you make that one good meal a day. I say one good, it's up to how you eat. I don't know. I tend to eat one good meal a day, and I don't eat before 1 o'clock, and then tend to finish-ish by 7. Don't eat between 1 and 7, but you know what I mean. Have a little bit of lunch and then a big meal. Or my main meal. And try to make that main meal a little special. And I remember what I was doing. I found this wonderful book about how to make burgers, and it's got so many different burgers. Well, I've made 1, 2, 3, 4 types of different burgers now. And each one, I've followed the recipe, and it's taken a little bit of time to make them. So it's not just a case of going to the fridge, taking them out the packet and putting them on. I've made one with sweet potato and grated halloumi with loads of other stuff. That was awesome. Had one where I put the cheese in the middle of the burger. So not cheese on top, but in the middle of it. There was another one which I can't remember. Then my favourite one is one where it's a mushroom burger, but it's meat burger, but you incorporate cooked mushrooms that are cut so small, cut finely and cooked for quite a long time. And you know what? Those burgers are lovely, and they take such quite a time to prepare, but it's a nice time to prepare. Maybe I can have a bit of music on, maybe I'm listening to something. I make sure I got my knife nice and sharp. I just take that little bit more care. And then when I sit down to eat, I'm thinking, well done me. I like this. So just taking care of those little things and then noticing what differences we could do. And you see, that got me to thinking, when we're going to, well done, Paul, you've cooked a meal. I hear what you're saying. But to me, it was just that little bit different. And maybe then taking that into the type of things that we're going to start doing, or I hope we're going to start doing together, which is like looking at different projects, looking at different things to do, different things to learn. And one of the things I'm going to do is, I haven't done a mind map for ages on this type of thing. So I thought I'm going to take some care and mind map some thoughts, take some care to think, to really set my intention, to set my state, all the stuff we've talked about, trying to master what I know, doing what I know and knowing what I do, and just notice what comes out the other end. Because I just feel it'll be different. And I actually said in my journal, I was speaking to my unconscious mind as I was writing, I said, thanks for the prod. I've made the start that hopefully takes me, he said, kicks me up the bum. And how many rabbit holes will I find? Well, I actually said, will we find? Because there'll be more than one rabbit hole. We always say, let's go take a deep dive, come with me down the rabbit hole. But there'll be lots of rabbit holes that we can explore, a whole warren of them. But just by taking a little bit more time, a little bit more intention, and maybe thinking what we really want to get out of things. Because when we set our intention, I do know that's what we're going to get. And sometimes it's just a matter of, maybe those things, when we set our intention, just taking a few minutes before we actually start. I mean, you could do it with me now, just while we're practicing. Because what does practice make? No, it doesn't make perfect. It makes permanent. So maybe just before we started out and set our intention, we just sat still for a moment and took a nice in-breath with me. And just hold it for a moment. And then just let it out. And as you let it out, just imagine your mind's going down deep inside. Doesn't matter whether you close your eyes or not, because you can do this, eyes open, eyes closed. Good to do it with your eyes closed though, so you can really focus on the inside. And just breathe for a moment. Go down to that special place, that place of connection. That place of center, of settling. Settle down and center. Where you could just ask your unconscious mind, maybe, I'm curious, what would it be like to imagine wonderful things? To be creative. Creative in my thoughts. I wonder how many rabbit holes I could find that would give me interest. And just breathe that in for a moment. Setting your intention. And you're setting your intention with your best friend. And that's all it takes, just a few moments. You can maybe even meditate on this, maybe for a little while beforehand, or even any time in the day where you just stop and wonder. Just get curious. I'm curious. I wonder what new things I'll discover. Maybe I'll find something that's really going to motivate me to find new things, to learn new things. I wonder what new things I could learn today. I wonder what book I'll pick up and open it and start learning. I wonder what state I need to be in. And I wonder what would happen if I got in the most appropriate state with this intention. What would I find? What would I create? What would I think of? And then just breathe on that. Just breathe. And then when you're ready, go for it. Just go do it. Because no longer are we procrastinating. Even if you haven't done that using your procrastination as a superpower, you could do that next time by just taking that in-breath. I wonder how creative I can be by just making spaces and places for me to be creative, to learn, to do the things I love. Because even if you know what you're doing, you could always ask that question. How much fun can I have in doing this today? And I think when we take that little bit of care, we'll see results. We'll see results so much more than we could ever imagine. And then when you start to imagine what type of results you can get, knowing that you'll exceed because you won't be able to imagine as much, because as much as you do, there's the abundance of everything else coming your way. Wouldn't that be awesome? There you go. That's something I'm going to work on. I really like to think that you may join me in that. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Did just that little bit in the middle of this episode, maybe it got you thinking. Maybe you did connect with your best friend. And what will your best friend do, I wonder, to surprise you, to feel creative, to learn? Hey, that's me. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to keep this going for day after day after day, because there's a thing called bandwidth and things like that, which I have to abide by when I'm uploading all these bloody podcasts. And I'm reaching the end, and it's something that I have to keep paying for. And obviously I'm having to do that out of my own pocket. Don't mind that. But I'm getting to the thing where I'm going to have to maybe do them every other day. And by doing that, I think maybe we'll get a little bit more serious with the odd little Mad World thing, but start to look at these different things, these projects, type of processes that we could use to set our state. You know, I'm very concerned about people being lonely. I'm very concerned about people who had mental issues before this started. And when I say mental issues, mental health issues, I'm just saying, we weren't quite feeling ourselves. Maybe we were a little bit anxious. Maybe we were feeling a little down. Well, this type of environment that we find ourselves in can be, if we don't make it more productive, can be detrimental to that. And we don't want that to happen, so we're not going to let it happen. So if you were a little bit anxious, you were a little bit down before this happened, fear not. Cluffy is here. And together we will do things to make things differently. We're going to find that confidence. We're going to find that self-esteem. We're going to find everything you need to shine, to sing from your own voice, to be aligned to who you really are. So we're going to, I'm going to swear, I'm going to fuck off that old you, the one that's not so good, that has been struggling, and let the real you come to the fore again. So we just let go of those few beliefs, those old emotions, few different things. Got a few processes up my sleeve, and we'll get to it. So if there's anything, if you were a little bit down, you were a little bit anxious or frightened or fearful, or any emotion basically that you were being just hit a little bit by, squeezed a little bit by, and you think that it may get a little worse, email me. Goodness sake, just email me. feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Just give me a couple of bullet points. You don't have to go into details. It's all anonymous and confidential and all that stuff, as you know from me. And I'll come up with a process. I'll come up with some words, some things that you could do, some things that will, maybe a hypnosis process or something that will just let it go right now. Okay? So do that. And if you would, I know it's so blooming difficult, and I'm going to ask you a question. Have you shared this podcast? Have you shared the Personal Development Unplugged podcast? Because my guess is maybe you have, or maybe you haven't, or maybe you've only done it once. But if you could continue to keep sharing it. Everything I see, I always share with my friends. If I see something good, I'll just share it. It's a habit, and it's a good habit to get into. And it will make this podcast grow, which means more people get the benefit of some really good processes that allow them to change their lives, to become who they really are destined to be, to sing from their real voice, just like you're going to. And, to show up. Be authentic. Be their authentic selves. Yeah, that's good. It's a widely used term, maybe too widely, but just being the authentic you. Let that shine. Shine and be well. Okay? So, here's till the next time. It's Paul Clough, Personal Development Unplugged. Have more fun than you can stand. Bye now. If you're suffering from things like anger, excessive anger in your life, too much sadness that keeps recurring and recurring, fear of anything, or just grieving too much about loss, maybe you're jealous, Or maybe your self-confidence isn't, well, it's never high enough. Or like your self-esteem, that's never high enough. And it should be. And you shouldn't have to suffer through anger, sadness, fear, grief, jealousy. Do you know what? I hadn't thought about this for a little while, but why don't you come and work with me? Because, I've told you before that I work online, I do coaching, I do therapy online, but I've never really thought about offering it directly to you. So why not? Don't listen to what other people say when they say, things take such a long time, because they don't. 2-3 sessions is generally all that's needed to get rid of some of the biggest problems in people's lives. I see it day in, day out with my clients. So if that's something you can consider, because I do know this, that we always put things off. We put things off and then we'll go to that bit where we go, oh, if only I did. So here's the thing. Imagine that putting off has gone by and you've decided to send me an email. An email at feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com saying, hi Paul, I've got this issue. I'd like to work with you. And here's my telephone number. Here's my email address. And the thing is, what would happen is we get in contact over the internet, online. We do an initial consultation. It doesn't take very long to make sure that we're a good fit and make sure you're really comfortable with me. I know you've listened to me a lot, but you really want to see the whites of my eyes. And let me explain how we work together. And if that is right, and it's right for you, and I want to make sure it's right for you, I don't work with just anybody and everybody, only the people who I feel I can really help. Then we'll organise 2 or 3 sessions and get the thing sorted. Okay? So why not send me that email now? Don't think any longer. Stop. Get online. Give me an email. And let's do some work together. If you really are interested in making deep changes, I really always suggest one-to-one. Yes, this Personal Development Unplugged podcast gives you all the tools, but let's get rid of the deep underlying issues so you can really make use of all the tools here. Anyway, that's enough from me. If you want it and you want to let go of that stuff really quickly, and you like me, and you'd like to work with me, then send me that email. If it's not for you, that's fine. Just keep listening and keep sharing. Okay? Anyway, I'll hear from you real soon, I'm sure. See you now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.